जय राधा माधव बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवर धरी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवर धरी। यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन, यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन, यमुना तीरवनचरी, यमुना तीरवनचरी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवर धरी। यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन, यमुना तीरवनचरी, यमुना तीरवनचरी। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम हरे हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। जय जय प्रभुपाद, प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद, जय जय गुरुदेव गुरुदेव जय जय गुरुदेव। निताय गौर हरि हरि बोल, हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल। हरि नाम संकीर्तन की जय, हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय, जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद जी की जय, उपस्थित भक्त वृंद की जय, ग्रंथ श्रीमद् भागवत महापुराण की जय। निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे, हरि हरि बोल।
प्रभु,
हरे कृष्ण।
आपकी आवाज ठीक से नहीं आ रही, थोड़ी मतलब दूर से आ रही है ऐसा लग रहा है, और बीच में क्रैक भी हो रहा है थोड़ा आवाज।
अभी क्लियर है प्रभु?
हाँ, थोड़ा और अगर कर सको तो अच्छा रहेगा।
ओके प्रभु, आई जस्ट ट्राई, जस्ट गिव मी अ मोमेंट। हरे कृष्ण प्रभु, नाउ इट इज फाइन।
हाँ प्रभु, दिस इज फाइन, थैंक यू।
ओके प्रभु, हरे कृष्ण। सो विल स्टार्ट विद मंगलाचरण। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय, ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय, ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं सग्रजतां सगण रघुनाथ चैतन्यदेव। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी श्री राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानं पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। मुखं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दिनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्येश्वरम्। हरे कृष्ण। तो Please accept my humble obeisances to all the assembled Vaishnavas. Vanchakalpatarubhasya kripasindhubhyavacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo namo namah. I extend my deepest gratitude towards Shubhal Prabhu and this wonderful association of devotees who are giving us opportunity to speak something about the Lord, not only to satisfy or to please the ears of all the devotees, but also it gives an opportunity to purify myself also. So I'm really grateful to Subal Prabhuji and all the devotees assembled here. So today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the mature fruit, or it is the mature fruit of all the Vedic literatures. That's why it is known as Srimad Bhagavat Mahapuran, the king of all Puranas. So before we begin our chapter, let us try to glorify Srimad Bhagavatam because it's a tradition to before we speak we should glorify Srimad Bhagavatam, which motivates us and imbibes that spirit of devotion to the lotus feet of the Lord, which is also a topic of today's. So Parikshit Maharaj, in the episode of Rukmani, Rukmani and Krishna's pastime in Srimad Bhagavatam 10th Canto 52nd chapter. So there is one beautiful verse which Srila Parikshit Maharaj uh, tells to Shukdev Goswami, and he expresses his deepest gratitude towards Shukdev Goswami so that he can, understand the Leelas of Krishna in a very humble manner. So he quotes a beautiful verse. So Parikshit Maharaj says, Brahmana Krishna Katha Punya Madhavir Loka Malapaha Ponu Tripyant Shrinvana Shrutogyo Nitya Nutana. So Parikshit Maharaj, he tells to Shukdev Goswami, Brahmana Krishna Katha Punya, that, oh my master, oh my spiritual master, oh Brahman Dev, oh Shukdev Goswami, oh saintly person, Brahmana Krishna Katha Punya, the Srimad Bhagavatam Katha which you are narrating me, it's very punya, it's very auspicious, not punya material world so that we can get our bread and butter and other necessities of life, but it is so auspicious that it helps us to achieve that goal which we are always hankering in this material world. Brahmana Krishna Katha Punya. And this, what is this Katha? This Katha is so punya, this Katha is so auspicious that it helps us to achieve that Lord which is been for whom the yogis and jnanis they try to meditate, and that supreme Lord we can attract just by hearing this wonderful katha. Brahmana Krishna Katha Punya Madhavir Lokamalapaha. And this is Parikshit Maharaj is telling that this is a medicine for all the souls, conditioned souls, to get liberated and to go back home, back to Godhead. So that's what Parikshit Maharaj is telling, that this is that medicine which everybody is hankering for. And he says, Madhavir Loka Mala Apaha, that this medicine is not bitter, it is very sweet. Madhavir, it's sweet like madhu, like it's like honey. Madhavir Loka Mala Apaha. And with this medicine, we will not be able to overcome the disease of the body, but we'll be able to overcome the disease of the soul. Loka Mala Apaha. When we come in this material world, we get contaminated by the sins and by the karmas and other reactions of our past fruitive activities. But that gets nullified, and which and through which we will become purified by this Krishna Katha. Madhavid Loka Mala Apaha. That mal or that contamination, it will help us to reduce, or it will help us to wipe out that all the karmas and the reactions of all our footy activities just by hearing Krishna Katha. Madhavir Loka Malapa. And he says further, Konu Tripyante Shrinvana. Who will be satisfied just by hearing it, hearing it, hearing it? Konu Tripyante Shrinvana. Shrutogyo Nitya Nutana. Especially those person, how they will be satisfied who are regularly hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam. So this is the glorification of Srimad Bhagavatam, which Maharaj Parikshit uh, glorifies from his lotus lips in front of Shukdev Goswami that this is the right medicine. And at the fag end of the life, nobody can speak a lie, right? So similarly, so Maharaj Parikshit, who was, fasting from not only food, but he was also not having sleep for that consecutive 7 days. So at that time, he is speaking from his heart, and he is telling that this is the right medicine, Srimad Bhagavatam, for the conditioned soul, which will help us to wipe out all the reactions, all the karmas of their footy activities, and it will help us to achieve that auspicious substance, Krishna. Vedascha sarvair ahameva vedyo. Through the Vedas, the only object, or if we, what we say, अगर हम मंथन करते हैं सारे वेदों का, if we churn all the Vedas, then that one thing which will come out is Lord Krishna. And bhakti to Lord Krishna is the ultimate goal, which Srila Parikshit Maharaj himself confesses in front of Shukdev Goswami. So this is the glory or the glorification of Srimad Bhagavatam, which help us to get that motivation spirit to read and hear about Srimad Bhagavatam. Now coming back to our today's chapter, which is also a very beginning, what we say, it's like the beginning of the few chapters which Shukdev Goswami narrates in front of Maharaj Parikshit. When he submits himself in front of Maharaj Parikshit, and then Shukdev Goswami narrates these beautiful pastimes of the Lord in his uh, Vishwarup form, or the Lord in his all the to the fullest objects, like we read in Srimad Bhagavad Gita also, the chapter which describes the universal form of the yoga, the universal form of the Lord. Similarly, this particular chapter also describes the opulence, the Aishwarya of the Supreme Lord, which is not limited to his personal form, but in impersonal form also, Lord, Lord expands himself into different avatars and in the form of this nature, so that we can understand through these objects also that the Lord is there in each and every atom. That's why we called Lord as Vishnu. So one name or one meaning of Vishnu is जो विश्व के हर एक अणु में है. So that's why we address the Lord as Vishnu. So similarly, this particular chapter, the second canto, it is also describes as the opulence of the Lord, especially this chapter 6. So we will start with this chapter 6, which is entitled Purusha Shukta Confirmed. So here in the previous chapter, as we heard that in Parikshit Maharaj submits in front of Shukdev Goswami, and he requests him that please tell how the potencies of the Lord are helping him in the creation of this world, and how are the different potencies of the Lord are working simultaneously to please the Lord. Please explain this to me. So in a way, then Shukdev Goswami, he offers his obeisances to his spiritual master, and in that way, uh, by expressing gratitude towards his spiritual master, because this is the Guru Parampara, disciplic succession potency. Because when we accept the orders of spiritual master, and when we express gratitude towards them, then the mercy flows down. So this is the way to get the mercy. So the mercy flows down when we pray to the Lord. That's why we do Mangalacharan. When we do Mangalacharan, then we imbibe the mercy of all the Vaishnava Acharyas, so that we can speak something about the Lord, because the Lord is unlimited. Hari Ananta, Hari Leela Ananta. We cannot express, or we cannot describe in 1 or 2 hours. But yeah, few drops of that ocean we will try to uh, sprinkle upon each other by discussing the Srimad Bhagavatam, second chapter. So this is so here the conversation is going on between Lord Brahma and Narad, because Lord Brahma is the spiritual master and Narad is the son and disciple. So this conversation goes on in Srimad Bhagavatam. Sometimes it happens between two people, or 4 people. So in that way, it helps us to understand through their teachings, their experience, their realization, what they have understood or what they have realized from the opulence of the Lord. So we'll start with the chapter first verse. Brahma Uvacha Vacham Vanirmukham Kshetram Chandasam Sapta Dhatavah Havya Kavyamritananam Jiva Sarva Rasya Cha. Synonyms translation purport by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Anybody would like to read?
I'll go ahead, Prabhuji. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Lord Brahma said, the mouth of the Virata Purusha, the universal form of the Lord, is the generating center of the voice, and the controlling deity is fire. His skin and 6 other layers are the generating centers of the Vedic hymns, and his tongue is the productive center of different foodstuffs and delicacies for offering to the demigods, the forefathers, and the general mass of people. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. The opulences of the universal form of the Lord are described herein. It is said that his mouth is the generating center of all the kinds of voices, and its controlling deity is the fire demigod. And his skin and other 6 layers of bodily construction are the representatives generating centers for the 7 kinds of Vedic hymns, like the Gayatri. Gayatri is the beginning of all Vedic mantras, and it is explained in the first volume of Srimad Bhagavatam. Since the generating centers are the different parts of the universal form of the Lord, and since the form of the Lord is transcendental to the material creation, it is to be understood that the voice, the tongue, the skin, etc., suggest that the Lord in his transcendental form is not without them. The material voice, or the energy of taking in foodstuff, is generated originally from the Lord. Such actions are but perverted reflections of the original reservoirs. The transcendental situation is not without spiritual variegatyness. In the spiritual world, all the perverted forms of material variegatedness are fully represented in their original spiritual identity. The only difference is that material activities are contaminated by the 3 modes of material nature, whereas the potencies in the spiritual world are all pure because they are engaged in the unalloyed transcendental love service of the Lord. In the spiritual world, the Lord is the sublime enjoyer of everything, and the living entities there are all engaged in his transcendental loving service without any contamination of the modes of material nature. The activities in the spiritual world are without any of the difficulties of the material world, but there is no question of impersonal voidness on the spiritual platform, as suggested by the impersonalist. Devotional service is defined in the Narada Panchakarta as follows. Sarvopadi vinirmuktam tat paritvena nirmalam. Hare Krishna sevam bhaktir uchete. Originally, since all the senses are produced of the Lord's reservoir of senses, the sensual activities of the material world are to be purified by the process of devotional service, and thus the perfection of life can be attained simply by purifying the present position of the material activities. And purifying process begins from the stage of being liberated from the conception of different designations. Every living entity is engaged in some sort of service, either for the self or for the family or for the society, country, etc. But unfortunately, all such services are rendered due to material attachment. The attachment of the material affinity may be simply changed to the service of the Lord, and thus the treatment of being freed from material attachment begins automatically. The process of liberation is therefore easier through devotional service than by any other methods. For in the Bhagavad Gita 12.5, it is said that one is subjected to various kinds of tribulence, tribulations if one is impersonally attached. Kilso diktharas tesam aiva kashtakshesham setham. Jai Srila Prabhupada, Hare Krishna.
Thank you,
Sorry for
Prabhuji.
some mistakes which I have committed
No,
while I'm
Prabhuji.
reading the
So,
Sanskrit.
not a problem. So, thank you, Prabhuji. Yeah, so this particular verse, Lord Brahma said, so he explains about the Virat Purusha of the Lord. It is, so this is the impersonal form which Lord Brahma describes. Of course, there are two features of the Lord. One is personal feature and other is impersonal feature. So the Lord is present in both these features simultaneously. This principle is known as Achintya Bheda Ved Tattva. That Lord is one and different also in this particular context. Achintya Bheda Ved Tattva. So when we talk about the personal features of the Lord, then we can see it or we can experience it uh, through some, through some examples. But here, when the Brahma is talking about the universal form of the Lord, like voice, controlling deities, fire, the skin, and other layers are the generating centers of Vedic hymns, and the tongue is the productive center of different foodstuffs and delicacies and offerings to the demigods. So the devotees of the Lord, they automatically get convinced of the Lord's existence through the personal form only. But to convince the impersonalist also, Lord Brahma is speaking here and he is giving the examples so that they can also relate to it, right? So that's why these examples uh, or this particular section has been described. Of course, uh, there is no logic or there is no, some evidence to prove this. But since it is there in the Shastra, we accept it as truth. Because as 2 plus 2 is equals to 4, we heard it from our teacher. We didn't ask them that how this works and how it comes to 4. Why it is not coming to 5 or why it is not coming to 3. Because we heard it, we learned it from our teacher learned from his teacher, and his teacher learned it from his teacher. So in this way, this science or this mathematics is coming. Similarly, this Srimad Bhagavatam or whatever the description of the Lord which we are hearing is coming from the disciplic succession. So we cannot doubt in this, but we should try to hear it and understand. One time, one disciple asked Srila Prabhupada, even though I am reading or learning or studying Srimad Bhagavatam, I am not able to understand many of these uh, terms or many of these examples or many of the features of the Lord. How can I relate to this or how can I understand this even though I'm studying? So Srila Prabhupada replied, even though you study hundreds of times, you will not be able to understand this because the Lord is unlimited and we cannot understand the Lord through our senses. But if we surrender to the Guru and to the Vaishnavas and to the lotus feet of the Lord, then the Lord will give us the intelligence so that we'll be able to understand Him. So this is the case applies here that the Lord is present in this whole Vishwarupa form. But for the devotees, the Sham Sundar group, which is doing Murli Vadan, at the Vamshi Tat is the best deity form to worship upon. And that's why Srila Prabhupada emphasizes on this verse from the Narada Pancharatra, which comes in Chaitanya Charitamrita and Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu also, that Sarva Upadi Vinir Muktam Tat Paratvena Nirmalam Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhakti Ruchyate. That Sarva Upadi, that when you will free yourself from all the upadis, all the designations, Vinir Muktam, when you not artificially but naturally, when you just give up to all the designations, so-called designations of the material world, like I am the boss, I am the manager, I am the head, I am the uh, commander in general, or like this. So once you free yourself from all these so-called designations, tat paratvena nirmalam, and when you give up all designations, then it is like giving up one layer of false ego. Tat paratvena nirmalam. Paratvena means layer. So when we give up this all layers of the designations of this material world, then we become nirmalam. We become purified. Nirmalam. Mala means the contamination, and nirmala means will get free from this contamination. Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhakti Ruchyate. And how we will free up? When we will worship not our senses, but the master of our senses, which is the Lord Himself. That's why He's known as Rishikesha. Rishikesha Sevanam Bhakti Ruchyate. And when we worship or when we try to please the senses of the Lord, then the Lord will give us buddhi, or the Lord will give us the intelligence. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajata priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yenam upayantite. This Lord tells in the Chatushloki Bhagavad Gita 10.10, Tesham satata yuktanam, that those who are engaged in my devotional service in pleasing me through their senses, they are trying to please my senses. I give them intelligence by which they will come to me. So generally, in this material world, we see that everybody is trying to please, or everybody is hankering to please their own senses. Nobody cares about, or nobody tries to satisfy the senses of the beloved, right? But here in the bhakti, it is like the ulta, or it is like the opposite of this material world. Like in material world, we try to please ourselves, we try to give importance to ourselves. But in spiritual world, everybody wants to give credit to others. Everybody wants to give credit to his spiritual master. Everybody wants to give credit to his uh, to their shiksha gurus or the teachers, or especially to the Lord. Everybody wants to give credit, because when we give credit, then we show that I am not the important. Guru is important, Krishna is important, and by pleasing them we get pleased. Yasmin tushta jagat tushta. Because when Krishna gets pleased, every living entity is pleased, as we have heard from the example of that Durvasa Muni and Pandavas, from that forest example of Akshay Patra. So similarly, when we try to please the Lord, then the Lord will give us the intelligence to understand this. That's why Srila Prabhupada emphasizes on this verse that devotional service is about self-realization, realizing oneself and to the Lord. Because this Srimad Bhagavatam is like the sun, and the words of Srimad Bhagavatam are like sun rays who are giving us the actual light. So when we come in the light of this beautiful sun, then what will happen? We will not only see ourselves, but we will see the Lord also. And if we will not come to Srimad Bhagavatam or the Bhakti, then what will happen? It will be like the situation of a dark well, where we will not be able to see ourselves, neither the Lord. So this spiritual path is the path of light, which we should take upon, so that we will understand, we will realize the Lord. That is called the process of self realization. Nowadays, we see outside people are mad after selfie realization. They take selfie and they relate to themselves. They, I know I am this. But when we come to this books of Srila Prabhupada, the words of Srimad Bhagavatam, then we come to know that I am just a nimitta, or an instrument in the hands of the Lord. Yare ache nachai, tare karicha nitya. As the Lord wants me to dance, I will dance. Like Arjuna, he fought for the Lord. So in that way, he pleased the senses of the Lord. Srila Prabhupada explains in one of the purport. Hanumanji, he used his anger in the service of the Lord, and in that way he pleased Lord Ramachandra. Similarly, whatever we have, we can engage that in the service of the Lord, and in this way we can please the Lord. And Srila Prabhupada explains in this purport that the only process of liberation is easier through devotional service. Because when we take up the process of Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vandanam, Archanam, Dasyam, then the Navvidha Bhakti or the nine processes of devotional service, and through which if we approach the Lord under the guidance of a spiritual master, then it becomes easy to understand the Lord and submit to the Lord, so that the Lord will help us to get out of all the tribulations which we are attached to. Like here it is mentioned, Aklesho Adhik Taras Tesham Avyaktasya Chetasam. We are not also aware of, but through some or other fruitive activities we are been uh, bound up in this material world. But the only way which we can free, which through which we can free ourselves is the process of devotional service. And one of our acharyas was telling that the Lord is so big that he is big as the Lord. Like हिंदी में they say कि भगवान इतने महान है कि वो भगवान जितने महान है. So the conclusion of that acharya, he says that we cannot compare or uh, understand the Lord through our senses, but we understand that he is so great that only by our devotional service we can please him, because the Lord has everything, every opulence, but he don't have his own bhakti. For this reason also, for this reason only, the Lord comes as a devotee to experience that bhakti. So if you want to attract the Lord, then we cannot attract him by some money or by some uh, power, prestige, or fame, name. No, the Lord has it in full. That's why he is known as Bhagavan, the holder of all the six opulences. But if we can please the Lord, then the only thing is that bhakti. Through the bhakti, the Lord, who is known as Ajita, he becomes Jita, or he becomes conquered by the bhakti of the devotees. So we'll move on to the next verse, verse 2. सर्वसुनां च वयोश्च तन्नासे परमायने अश्विनोरो औषधानीं च गृणो मोद प्रमोदयः. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila
Yes,
Prabhupada.
yes, Prabhu. His two nostrils are the generating centers of our breathing and of all other airs. His smelling powers generate the Ashwini Kumaras, demigods, and all kinds of medicinal herbs, and his breathing energies produce different kinds of fragrance.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you. So now Brahmaji is further explaining here that the nostrils of the Lord are like the generating centers of breathing and all other airs, and his spelling powers generate. So see, this is the beauty or the opulence of the Lord. Just by his smelling power, the Lord generates the demigods like Ashwina Kumaras and all kinds of medicinal herbs. And his breathing energies produce different kinds of fragrance. And so this is something, adhokshaja or achintya. This we cannot even think about, or we can apply logic through our material senses, but we can just read it and understand it that this is the glory of the Lord. Because as we sing in the Govindam Adi Purusham, that Angani yasya sakalendriya vritti manti pashyanti panti kalayanti chiram jaganti ananda chinmaya sadujvala vigrahasya Govindam Adi Purusham tamam bhajami. That Lord Brahma only recites this verse in Brahma Samhita, and he says, Angani yasya sakalindriya vritti manti. Through the angs or through the limbs of the Lord, he can do activities of other senses also. For example, through my eyes I can only see, but the Lord, through his eyes, he eats also. How acharyas give, devotees give one nice example that when we offer the bhoga to the Lord, just by glancing at the bhoga, the Lord accepts it and then he gives it as prasad. So this is so through any of the senses, the Lord can do activity of other senses also. Through eyes, he can eat also or he can destruct also just by his glance. And because the Lord, as the energies belong to energetic and they work for the energetic, similarly the potencies of the Lord, they work for the Lord. As we can see here, the Ashwini Kumaras, the greatest demigods, gets generated. And especially the Pandavas, the Nakul and Sahadev, they were the Ansh or they were the one fragment of the Ashwini Kumaras that Kunti received when she chanted the mantra for Madri, the second wife of Maharaj Pandu in Mahabharat. So that's why she got the two sons, namely Nakul and Sahadev. These Ashwini Kumaras are twin demigods, which we can see not only in our material world. We see twin sons, twin sisters, or twin brothers, or something. But in the demigods also, uh, in the demigods kingdom also, the Lord has this wonderful demigod called Ashwini Kumaras, which are the twin demigods uh, in the spiritual realm. And these demigods are taking care of all the uh, medicinal herbs and all, which we can understand from different Puranas and Shastras. Okay, we'll move on to the third verse. रूपानां तेजसां चक्षुर्दिवः सूर्यस्य चक्षिणी कार्णौ दिशां च तीर्थानां स्तोत्रम् स्तोत्रम् आकाश शब्दयोः. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
His eyes are the generating centers of all kinds of forms, and they glitter and illuminate. His eyeballs are like the sun and the heavenly planets. His ears hear from all sides and are receptacles of all the Vedas. And his sense of hearing is the generating center of the sky and of all kinds of sound. The word Tirthanam is sometimes interpreted to mean the places of pilgrimage, but Srila Jiva Goswami says that it means the reception of the Vedic transcendental knowledge. The propounders of the Vedic knowledge are also known as the Tirthas. Hare Krishna.
Jai. Thank you, Prabhuji. So further, as we were explaining or discussing about the Lord's senses, so they are unlimited. That's why Srila Prabhupada in the beginning of the verse, he told Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam, Bhakti Ruchase. So what is the Uttam Bhakti? To please not our senses, but to please the senses of our beloved Lord. In that way, we will get pleased. Because Yashmin Tushta, Jagat Tushta. That when we water the root of the tree, the whole tree gets the full nourishment, including the twigs, the flowers, the fruits, and all. Similarly, when we worship the Lord, then all the demigods, all the saintly persons, all the living entities of this planet which are helping us in some way or other, they will be get pleased just by performing devotional service to the Lord. And through the Lord's eyes, he glances. Like in Narsimha Leela, we can see this beautiful aspect of Lord Narsimha, that in Narsimha Leela, we see that when Lord Narsimha appeared, he was showing two emotions. Like through his one eye, he was very angry at Hiranyakashipu as he would burn him to ashes. And from his other eye, Lord Narsimhadev was looking at Prahlad like a mother cow looks at his calf, Vatsa, so affectionately glancing. So we cannot, uh, you know, experience that, or we cannot demonstrate that that kind of emotions through our eyes. Because when we get angry, then both our eyes become red hot, right? Or when we are sad, we cry through both of our eyes. But in Narsimhadev's case, his one eye was looking, trying or looking for the opportunity to kill this Hiranyakashipu, and from other eye, he was looking at the Prahlad, that I want to save Prahlad, I want to love Prahlad, I want to embrace Prahlad. So in this way, we can see from the pastimes of the Lord that he acts in a such a way that nobody acts it. That's why he is known as Asamurdhva. One name of the Lord is Asamurdhva. That Asam means nobody is saman to the Lord, and Urdhva, nobody is superior to the Lord, because everybody is subordinate to the Lord. This verse is very beautifully explained in Chaitanya Charitamrita also. Ekaleshwara Krishna Arasabhritya. Yar- Who is the Lord? Ekaleshwara Krishna. Only Krishna is the Supreme Lord. Arasabhritya. And all are the servants. As Krishna wants, these demigods or other servants, they try to please the Lord. So similarly, we are also conditioned souls. So as the energies belong to energetics, so similarly, we are also one of the energies of the Lord, but we are superior energy in the form of conditioned souls. So what is our Swarup? Is to please the Lord through the devotional service. So through this description, we can understand the Lord is very omnipotent and he is achintya. So through our chintan, we cannot understand. But as we hear, we or read this, so we become very satisfied and we become convinced of the opulence of the Lord. And here Jiva Goswami also mentions that Tirtham is not only the holy places of pilgrimage, but Tirth is also mentioned here as the reception of the Vedic transcendental knowledge. And also, not only the holy places of pilgrimage is considered as Tirtha, but the devotees who are present at one place, that place also becomes Tirtha. What is the example? Srila Yudhishthir Maharaj addresses to Vidurji when he goes for pilgrimage and then comes back to Hastinapur. So Yudhishthir Maharaj tells Maharaj, so Yudhishthir Maharaj addresses the Vidurji as Bhavat Vida Bhagavata Tirtha Bhuta Swayam Vibho Tirthani Tirthi Kurvanti Shanta Senagata Brita. That, O my Lord Vidurji, devotees of the Lord as you are the holy places of pilgrimage personified, because since you carry the Lord in your heart, wherever you go, that place becomes a place of pilgrimage. So in this way, Yudhishthir Maharaj was glorifying Vidurji that devotees are like you, because when they carry always Lord in the heart, so wherever they go, they are like Chalte Firte Tirtha. They are like the places of pilgrimage. They are walking pilgrimage. Understand that not only the Lord is worshipable, but also the devotees who carry the Lord in their heart and preach the glories of the Lord are also worshipable and are also equally important, so that we can take their association and make our life perfect. We'll move on to next verse, text 4. Tadgatram vastu sharanam saubhagasya cha bhajanam tvagasya sparsha vayoscha sarva medhasya chaivahi. Translation purport by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. Translation. Each bodily surface is the breeding ground for the active principles of everything and for all kinds of auspicious opportunities. Is skin like the moving air is the genetic center for all kinds of sense of touch and is the place for performing all kinds of sacrifice. Purport. The air is the moving agent of all the planets, and as such, the genetic centers for promotion to the deserving planets. The sacrifices are his bodily surface and are naturally the origin of all auspicious opportunities. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you so much. Yeah, so here the bodily surface, Lord Brahma further explains to Narada that his bodily surface is the breeding ground for the active principles of everything and for all kinds of auspicious opportunities. His skin, like the moving air, is the generating center for all kind of sense of touch and is the place of performing all kinds of sacrifice. Purport, the air is the moving agent of all the planets, and as such, the generating centers for promotion to the deserving planets, the sacrifices are his bodily surface and are naturally the origin of all auspicious opportunities. So, not only the eyes and the senses of the Lord are auspicious, but Brahmaji further explains that the bodily surface of the Lord is also auspicious. Of course, this is a very high statements which are been quoted by Brahmaji. But what we can experience this is through the Leelas of the Lord. Because as we discussed about the Lord Narsimha's pastime of emotions, so in this way, other two emotions were also uh, expressed by Lord Narsimha Dev. I don't remember the exact all other attributes of it, but this one which I discussed in the last verse was one. And the second one was Lord Narsimha's nails were like very sharpened, were very sharp, like thorns or like the razor blade. Even if gets slightly touched, it becomes it is enough to kill anybody. But that same nails, through that same nails, or the Lord was, you know, trying to please Prahlad through that same nails. And when Lord Narsimha Dev finishes Hiranyakashipu and then he sits at the throne, and then Prahlad Maharaj goes there to please to pacify the Lord. At that time, Lord Narsimha Dev takes Prahlad Maharaj on his lap, and what he does says he Narsimha Dev places his palm on the head of Prahlad like this, so that his nails will not affect Prahlad because he was very soft. So this skin of the Narsimha Dev, or this palm of the Narsimha Dev, which was the hand of the Narsimha Dev, which was like Vajradapi Kathoram, but at the same time, it was Kusuma Dapi Sukomalam for Prahlad Maharaj. So that hand, which acted as the death of Hiranyakashipu, similarly, that same hand, it became as the benediction for Prahlad. So Lord Narsimhadev was licking Prahlad Maharaj as a lioness licks his cup. Similarly, this Narsimhadev was licking Prahlad Maharaj, and he kept his hand on Prahlad's head, and he was, uh, trying to please Prahlad because he experienced so much tribulations, and then finally Narsimhadev appeared to please him, or to reciprocate with Prahlad's devotion of bhakti. So that's why the Acharya sing that song, that कौन कहते हैं भगवान आते नहीं, तुम मीरा के जैसे बुलाते नहीं, और कौन कहते हैं भगवान खाते नहीं, तुम शबरी के जैसे खिलाते नहीं. So here applies that when we express our devotion, the Lord definitely reciprocates. Now also, many of the devotees, they do deity worship and all. They have also experienced that way when they take care of the Lord properly, the Lord takes care of everything. So this is the mood of the devotees. So when they serve the Lord reciprocates with the devotee in some way or other. And so this is the beauty of Lord. And through his pastimes, we can understand that how soft-hearted he is. For all other avataras, the Lord came for many reasons. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam. But for this Narsimha avatar, as we celebrated Narsimha Chaturdashi few days back, so for this Narsimha avatar, Lord Narsimhadev appeared just to please Prahlad Maharaj. Just to please Prahlad Maharaj, just for this one devotee, the Lord came. Of course, demigods were also been tortured by Hiranyakashipu, but that was not Lord's purpose to protect them. But the Lord's main protection was given to Prahlad Maharaj because of unalloyed devotional service. Because even though your father and the family around you is not favorable, but Prahlad demonstrated, but still you can do bhakti and you can please the Lord. And by your devotion, the Lord can come to save you, or the Lord can come to reciprocate with you. So this is the bodily features of the Lord, that it is extremely soft. Even it is described by the acharyas in the Damodar Leela that the Lord's teeth are very sharp, but they are at the same time they are very soft also. Because when the Lord was extremely angry when Mother Yashoda put Krishna on the ground, Lord Krishna was very angry. But still, through that white teeth, he controlled his anger, and then he made this. He broke all the butter pots and all. But the Acharya explained there that his teeth were very white and soft also. And so this was the commentary of different acharyas about the bodily features of the Lord, which is very uh, pleasing to the devotees also. So we'll go to the next verse, text 5. Romani udbija jati nam yairva yajnastu sambritah kesha smarsh kesha smashru nakhani asya shila lobhara vidyutam. Translation purport by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
I'll read Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhu.
Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. The hairs on his body are the cause of all vegetation, particularly of those trees which are required as ingredients for sacrifice. The hairs on his head and face are reservoirs for the clouds, and his nails are the breeding ground of electricity, stones, and iron ores. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. The polished nails of the Lord generate electricity, and the clouds rest on the hairs of his head. One can therefore collect all sorts of necessities of life from the person of the Lord, and therefore the Vedas affirm that everything that is produced is caused by the Lord. The Lord is the supreme cause of all causes. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Yes, so again, one more verse which is, describes about the Lord's hairs and his nails also. So we may have heard the Lord's one name is Keshava, right? Keshava has many meanings the acharyas give. So we will discuss one or two meanings of Keshava. Keshava means who has killed the Keshi demon. That's why the Lord is addressed as Keshava. This is one meaning the acharyas give. Second meaning is that the Lord has very beautiful, curly, soft hairs. That's why he is known as Keshava. Because he has the most beautiful hairs. That's why one name the Acharyas has given to the Lord is Keshava. And here Brahma speaks about the hairs of the Lord, about the opulence of the hair of the Lord, right? In our condition, if the hair is on our head, then it looks like beautiful. But if it is on the floor or in the food, then it is not so appreciated, right? Then it has no value. But this is our so-called beauty, but here the beauty of Lord is explained in the form of his hairs and his nails also. So this is the beauty of the Lord's opulence, which has been mentioned here. So like uh, when we hear about Bill Gates or Ambani's opulence, that he has so many assistants or servants around him, he has so many cars, he has so many bungalows, he has so many companies, or he has these helicopters, private jets, this and all. So when we hear of them, what happens? We consider him that he is a big man. We show some respect towards him while speaking, or if he comes in our front, or if we encounter him. So similarly, when we hear Srimad Bhagavatam, we also generate that kind of respect and appreciation for the Lord, so that through our bhakti, when he appears, we will be able to uh, pray, or we will be able to glorify the Lord. So that's why this beautiful narration is given, so that we get attracted by the opulence of the Lord, and then we should have a desire to meet him. Like Bill Gates and Ambani, we have heard that they are so multi-billionaires, they have this, that, and all opulences they have. So we have a desire. Oh, I want to meet him one day. I have a desire. This is my goal, or this is in my bucket list. So similarly, by hearing these descriptions, we also develop that spirit of devotion. That, oh, through this Lord, I would like to worship. Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. To this Govinda, who is the Adi Purush, who is the cause of all causes, I want to worship to this Lord and no other Lord. Because the beauty and the fame and the opulence of the people in this world will decrease day by day, right? After Ambani, some Tata will come, some Birla will come. After Bill Gates, some Mark Zuckerberg will come, Elon Musk will come. So in this way, somebody like after Sachin, Virat Kohli came. After Virat Kohli, Mahendra Singh Dhoni came. After Mahendra Singh Dhoni, Rohit Sharma came. After Rohit Sharma, Shubman Gill came. So in this way, we see that fame and opulence of the people in this material world, they decrease with respect to time. But the fame and opulence of the Supreme Lord, the Param Purushottam Bhagwan Sri Krishna, Swayam Bhagwan, it increases with time. It doesn't decrease, but it increases with time. That's why in the previous chapter also we discussed all these opulences, because that chapter was entitled as the cause of all causes. So that's why Brahmaji, in the beginning of glorifying the Lord through the prayers of Brahma Samhita, he says, Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govindam Sarva Karana Karanam. That you are the Param Ishwar. Of course, there are many Ishwaras. There are many controls in the material world, or in the Srishti, or in the creation of Lord's creation, like demigods and all other saintly persons and Saptarishis and all. They are controllers. But Lord Krishna is the supreme controller. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha. And how is his body? It is full of bliss, full of eternity, and full of knowledge. Satchidananda Vigraha, Anadi Radir Govinda. He has no end, and he is the beginning and the cause of all causes. Sarva Karana Karanam. So when we understand these principles, not only uh, through not only we don't perform the bhakti through only sentiments. It is not a bhav bhakti, but it is a tattva bhakti, or it is called a pushti marg also. Srila Prabhupada explains in one of his purport uh, that this path is known as pushti marg. Why? Because it nourishes us. Through this opulence, or through this description, we can conclude that the Lord is the only worshipable, that's object of the creation of this world. Ishvara Parama Krishna. And in the Bhagavad Gita Mahatmya also we say that a very nice verse is come, that of all the lords, Lord Krishna is the best. So in this way, we can try to please the Lord. I don't remember the exact verse in the Bhagavad Gita Mahatmya. There is a very nice verse that if of all the mantras, the Hare Krishna Mahamantra is the best. Of all the Gitas, or of all the Lord's Geet, the Gita is the best. And similarly, like there is one shloka in Srimad Bhagavatam also, that of all the Vaishnavas, Lord Shiva is the best. Of all the rivers, Ganga is the best. Of all the Shastras, Srimad Bhagavatam is the Shrest. And of all the personalities, Lord Krishna or Vasudeva is the Shrest. So, through this, we can understand the Lord is the cause of all causes. And when we dedicate or surrender to the Lord, then the Lord gives us the hope, like He gives to all His devotees, that Name Bhaktya Pranashyati, that my devotee will not perish. Of course, the body will perish, but the devotion and affection which we have to the Lord will definitely reciprocate with the devotees at the fag end of the life. Because for people in general and for devotees, the Lord comes at the time of death. For people in general, the Lord comes as death. But for the devotees, at the end moment of life, the Lord comes to take them to His own abode as the merciful and well-wisher Lord. So we'll move on to next verse, take 6. Bahavo lokapala प्रयास प्रयासः क्षेम कर्मणाम. Translation purport by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
The Lord arms are the protective fields for the great demigods and other leaders of the living entities who protect the general mass. The important verse of Srimad Bhagavatam is corroborated and nicely explained in the Bhagavad Gita 10.41 and 42. Yad yad vibhutimat sattvam trimad durjite mev tat tat evam gaccha tva mam tejo ansh sambhavam अथवा बहुनेतान की ज्ञातेन सर्व अर्जुना विष्ट भयाम इद कुत्स्यम इक्षान स्थितो जगत. There are many powerful kings, leaders, learned scholars, scientists, artists, engineers, inventors, excavators, archaeologists, industrialists, politicians, economists, business magnates, and many more powerful deities or demigods like Brahma, Shiva, Indra, Chandra, Surya, Varun, and Maru, who are all protecting the interests of the universal affairs of the maintenance in different positions, and all of them are different powerful parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord Sri Krishna is the father of all living entities who are placed in different high and low positions according to their desires or aspirations. Some of them, as particularly mentioned above, are specifically endowed with powers by the will of the Lord. A same person must know for certain that a living being, however powerful he may be, is neither absolute nor independent. All living beings must accept the origin of their specific power as mentioned in this verse. And if they act accordingly, then simply by discharging their respective occupational duties, they can achieve the highest perfection of life, namely eternal life, complete knowledge, and inexhaustible blessings. As long as the powerful men of the world do not accept the origin of their respective powers, namely the personality of the Godhead, the actions of Maya, illusion will continue to act. The actions of Maya are such that a powerful person, misled by the illusionary material energy, wrongly accepts himself as all in all and does not develop God consciousness. As such, the false sense of egoism, namely myself and mine, has become overly prominent in the world, and there is a hard struggle for existence in human society. The intelligent class of men, therefore, must admit the Lord as the ultimate source of all energies and thus pay tribute to the Lord and his good blessings. Simply by accepting the Lord as a supreme proprietor of everything, since he is actually so, one can achieve the highest perfection of life. Whatever a person may be in the estimation of the social order of things, If a person tries to reciprocate a feeling of love towards the Supreme Personality of the Godhead and is satisfied with the blessings of the Lord, he will at once feel the highest peace of mind for which he is hankering life after life. Peace of mind, or in other words, our healthy state of mind, can be achieved only when the mind is situated in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. The parts and parcel of the Lord are endowed with specific powers for rendering service unto the Lord. And just as the big business magnate's son are empowered with specific powers of administration, the obedient son of the Father never goes against the will of the Father and therefore passes life very peacefully in concurrence with the head of the family, the Father. Similarly, the Lord being the Father, all living beings should fully and satisfactorily discharge the duty and will of the Father as faithful sons. This will mentally, this very mentally will at once bring peace and prosperity to human society. Hare Krishna. Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. So here, the Lord's arms are being explained by Lord Brahma. That these are the productive fields for the great demigods and other leaders of the living entities who protect the general mass. So actually, the Lord is the only protector. Sometimes we, give credit that He has protected me, but we see this famous quote by our acharyas, which explains that "Mare Krishna rakhe Krishna mare ke." That if Lord wants to kill you, then nobody can protect you, and if Lord wants to protect you, nobody can kill you. So similarly, these demigods are like the different ministers, like we have in this world. One prime minister or president is there, and there are different cabinet ministers. The chamber of ministers are there to support him, to help him in his day-to-day duty. So similarly, this all the demigods are definitely they have an important role to play. But the most important role the Lord has given them is to supply the daily necessities of life and everything which is required for the people, like sun and rain god, sun god, and the moon god. In that way, also in the last verse, also this one point was left out, that in the Bhagavad Gita also we discussed this, or we heard this, that the Lord's two eyes are like the sun and moon. So in the Narsimdev example also, Narsimdev Leela also, this example was given, that through his one eye it was like burning sun, and through his other eye it was like cooling moonlight he was giving to Prahlad, and through his red hot sun-like eyes he was trying to scorch. He was actually scorching the Hiranyakashipu. So this is the beauty of the Lord's eyes also. And Srimad Bhagavatam, which is also known as the Grantha Avatar of Lord Sri Krishna, in that seventh and eighth cantos are being explained as the arms of the Lord. Like whole Srimad Bhagavatam is compared to the whole Srimad Bhagavatam is compared with the limbs of the Lord. Like first and second cantos are compared to the lotus feet of the Lord, and in that way, the third and fourth cantos are compared uh, to this thighs of the Lord, and then fifth canto is the navel of the Lord. Sixth canto is the vakshasthal or chest of the Lord. Seventh and eighth canto are the arms of the Lord. Eighth canto is the uh, what we say. Sorry, ninth canto is like the kant of the Lord. The 10th canto is like the lotus face of the Lord, and 11th canto is like the tilak on that lotus face of the Lord, and the 12th canto is like the whole beautiful turban on the uh, lotus head of the Lord. So seventh and eighth canto are been explained as the arms of the Lord, because through this 7th and 8th cantos, we see how God protects his dear devotees like Prahlad. How, and through the 8th canto also, how the Lord protects his devotee as Gajendra. Even though he was in the elephant form, but still the Lord protected him. And not only the Lord protected them from all the tribulations, but Lord gave them the love of God, for which we are always anxious. Because everybody in this material world is searching after love. But people in this world are all beggars. They are trying to take love from other beggar. But if we take from one beggar something, then that will not help us to satisfy, right? So similarly, this main source of love is the love of Godhead, which we are actually suffering in this material world. But when we get the source through the devotees, through the Srimad Bhagavatam, through the process of devotional service, by hearing, by chanting, by remembering, by serving, by uh, giving our uh, heart to the Lord in His service, then we can experience that love. Because, and why we desire that love? Because the Lord's nature is also like that. He also wants to love and to be loved. So when we come to the devotional service, then we actually realize that this Krishna consciousness or this process of devotion is like the actual nourishment, or it's like the actual source of water for me. Because as fish cannot stay out of the water, even though you provide all luxuries to the fish, but still she will be satisfied. The fish will be satisfied in water only. Similarly, we are also conditioned souls. We will not be satisfied in the luxuries or the so-called joy of this world, but we can be satisfied only in the process of Krishna consciousness. Sorry. So we can only be satisfied in Krishna consciousness, or we will get that love which we are always hankering by the process of devotion. Because devotional service is so potent that Lord not only promises that I will give protection, but the Lord gives us nourishment through the process of devotion. Because in this scorching heat of summer, as we are suffering outside, similarly, in this material world also, where we are not getting love, we are also suffering in the scorching light of this material world or this Maya. We are always being facing tribulations. We are always been embarrassed by this material world. But the Lord promises here that if you come in my arms, I will protect you, because the Lord has the strong arms. And through these beautiful arms, or through these strong arms, the Lord protects his devotee. But the only thing the Lord wants from us is surrender. So if we surrender to the Lord, then definitely as Lord protected Draupadi, Gajendra, Prahlad, Dhruva, Amrish Maharaj, so many examples, Gajendra, and so many examples are there in the scriptures. So similarly, if we will also surrender to the Lord, then the Lord will also protect us. So as a faithful son, Srila Prabhupada explains that we have to know that who am I belong. Because there is one beautiful example which is given by our devotees, that one time uh, a cub, a child of lion, he loses his way. He lost his way, and then he comes and stays with some, a family of cats and kittens. So in the as he grows up, he is also behaving like kittens, and he takes that lifestyle and he lives because of his association. But one time, uh, a lion passes by, and when he sees, he tells that cub, "Oh dear, why are you here? And why are you behaving like this? You are a tiger. You should know your identity. Come, I show you." So in this way, he takes that cub of lion to nearby pond and tells them, see, you look like a lion, not a cat or kitten. So behave like a lion, roar like a lion, and live your lifestyle like a lion. So and then the cub realizes this and he joins the. So similarly, the the moral of this example is that we we are also staying in this material world and we are thinking, no, I am this body. This people of this world will satisfy me or they will take care of me. But no, we can see from the example of Gajendra also, nobody helps. Either people will live before you or you have to live before them. So nobody will help you from this material world, or nobody can survive you. Only a hope for survival is the Lord and his devotees. So that's why the Lord sends his devotees to us, that why you are living a lifestyle of cat, live a life of king, or live a life of king's son by taking the process of devotional service. Because the Lord will not protect you from this life, but from all life, as Lord promises to Arjuna also, that just uh, give me your free will and just surrender to my will. I will protect you. Name bhaktya pranashyati. So similarly here, the Lord and Srila Prabhupada is trying to explain us that if we understand the opulence of the Lord, then we should surrender to the Lord. And by surrendering, we should perform our devotion with the heart. And devotional life should not be only a part of life, but it should be a heart of life. Because when things come from the heart, the Lord reciprocates. And when the Lord reciprocates, then we will feel that joy, we will feel that pleasure, the anand, the paramananda, the eternal bliss which we are always hankering. And this kind of mentality, Srila Prabhupada explains in this last line of purport, will bring peace and prosperity to human society. And Srila Prabhupada also explains in this purport of Bhoktaram Yajna Tapasam that this is the peace formula for all people in general. Just understand is that the only enjoyer of all sacrifices is Krishna. Bhoktaram Yajna Tapasam, Sarva Loko Maheshwaram. He is the controller and enjoyer of all the three worlds. Yajna are meant to please him. So do your duties as a kind of yajna or ahuti to please the Lord. Because when we work in our day-to-day life also, when we dovetail our each and every activity towards pleasing the Lord, then that is also called as yajna. And then Srila Prabhupada explains, if we act like that, then there will be no difference between ourselves and sannyasis. Because sannyasis also renounce everything and they take the service of the Lord wholeheartedly. Similarly, even though we stay in the Grahastha ashram, but if we take small baby steps towards pleasing the Lord by, you know, uh, giving our uh, heart through the process of devotional service, or by chanting, by hearing, by praying, by reading, then the Lord will help us to to overcome all our faults, all our anarthas, and the Lord will only help us through our spiritual master to get rid of all the six asuras which are there in the heart, and in that way we will be able to please the Lord. And not only that, Srila Prabhupada tells in the explains in the Bhagavad Gita, Bhoktaram Yajna Tapasam Shlok, that this is the peace formula. And he is the only well-wisher of all the living entities. If you understand these three things, then you will not have any other sorrow. You will be always peaceful and you will always be blissful because you have taken the path of devotional service. So we'll move on to our final verse today. Text 7. Vikramo bhurбhuva swascha shemasya sasharanasya cha sarvakama varasyapi hares charana aspadam. Translation purport by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Translation. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Thus the forward steps of the Lord are the shelter for the upper, lower, and heavenly planets, as well as for all that we need. His lotus feet serves as protection from all kinds of fear. Purport. Purport by Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. For absolute protection from all sorts of fear, as well as for all our needs of life, we must take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. Not only in his planet, but also in all the upper, lower, and heavenly planet. This absolute dependence on the lotus feet of the Lord is called pure devotional service, and it is directly hinted at within this passage. No one should have one kind of doubt in this matter, nor should one be inclined to seek the help of any other demigods, because all of them are dependent on him only. Everyone except the Lord himself is dependent on the mercy of the Lord. Even the all-prevailing super soul is also dependent on the supreme aspect of Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. So here, Lord Brahma further explains that the lotus steps of the Lord, or the lotus feet of the Lord, is the shelter for all the upper, lower, and heavenly planets, as well as for all that we need. His lotus feet serves as protection from all kinds of fear. That's why, the acharyas or the devotees, they always explain that uh, take hold of the lotus feet of the Lord, because it has been explained in Srimad Bhagavatam only that there is danger at every step in this material world. There is fearful situation has risen everywhere in this material world. Padam padam yad vipadam natesham. At every step, vipada is there, vipatti is there, problem is there, anxiety is there. But how can we change that vipatti to sampatti? How can we change that fearful situation into devotional service? So there is a beautiful verse in Srimad Bhagavatam which I just mentioned now. That padam padam yad vipadam natesham. So even though there are lot of obstacles are there in the path of devotional service, still we should know that the Lord will protect everybody who has taken his shelter in the past. The Lord has protected everybody who has taken his shelter in the past. So I should also not worry. Name bhaktya pranachyati. Even though there is a very fearful situation, still Mother Devaki persisted. And then at last she gave birth to Krishna, even though she was in such a miserable condition because of his uh, this ferocious, or what we say, very demon-like brother Kamsa. Still, Mother Devaki had patience. So that's why Srila Rupa Goswami also explains that Utsaha Nishya Dhairyat. That in bhakti we should have enthusiasm. And secondly, he says we should have dhairya. And secondly, he says we should have nishchaya. Nishchaya means determination. And then he says dhairya. Utsaha Nishchaya Dhairyasta. So in this devotional service, we should also have these three qualities. We should also have enthusiasm. Because if we don't have enthusiasm, then we'll not be able to do things with our heart. That's why Srila Prabhupada explains, even though we are not enthusiastic, still we should do activities in devotional service in an enthusiastic manner, just to please the Lord, or just for the pleasure of our Gurudev. If not for the pleasure of Gurudev, do it as a duty for our Gurudev. Do it as a duty towards the Lord. So this is the thing. Utsaha Nishchaya. And we should also have a strong determination. Even though I'm chanting Prabhuji 16 rounds for so many years, things are not working, things are not going the way I want. No, we should have patience. We should have dhairya. Determination also we should need, like Gajendra, like Prahlad, like Amrish Maharaj. They were determined, no, but at any cost, I will not surrender or to anybody else apart from the Supreme Lord. So this determination they had. Draupadi, she had that determination, no, that Lord Krishna will protect me. That's why she re- she lifted both his hands and tried to call out the Lord as Dwarkadish so that he can protect Draupadi. Not only uh, from this bodily platform uh, sorrows, but also to help that to achieve that love of God, which we are not getting in this material world. So Utsaha, Nishchaya, then Dhairya. So we should have patience also, because Srila Prabhupada gives a very nice example that if a newly wedded wife uh, gets married and if she requests her husband for a child, she will not get it immediately. It's a process she has to follow. And then after so and so months uh, of following the process, she will be able to give a birth to the child. So similarly, this is not overnight process of bhakti. It's not like Aj Bharti or Aj Chakravarti. No, it will take time. As we say, the sun rises gradually, right? We don't say the sun rises immediately. No, the sun rises gradually. So this is a gradual process of bhakti, devotion. Of course, it will take time, but it's it's worth doing. Worth doing means definitely in this material world we are, serving somebody or other. But have we ever thought, even though for serving so many years, uh, neither they are satisfied, neither I am satisfied. So whom should I worship? So whom should I serve? Even though we are serving them, we should do as a duty towards the Lord, because they are also the Lord's devotees. Because each and every living entity is also the son of the God. So that's why we should think that I am the instrument, and we should try to take care of them as they are also sons of the Lord. So with this mood, we should try to serve them so that we will not get entangled. And at the same time, we should have a strong determination towards the lotus feet of the Lord. And we should do this bhakti with great enthusiasm, so so that the Lord will help us in this process of devotion, and He will nourish us. So devotional, because so much nourishment devotees get just by serving. Because if we serve the Lord, we are not serving to get something out of it. Of course, that is byproduct. But just by serving the Lord, we get happy. We get happiness, and when we get happiness, then we are satisfied. And once we are satisfied, then what else we want? Because whatever we are doing just to please our senses. But when we try to please the senses of the Lord, then we get the ultimate happiness. And through that ultimate happiness, we feel that satisfaction in the heart. And that satisfaction can only be gained by the process of Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So from this, so the crux of the verse is that we should hold on to the lotus feet of the Lord. And it has been explained in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam that Samashritaya Pada Pallava Plavam Mahat Padam Punya Yasho Murare Bhavam Buddhir Vatsa Padam Param Padam 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 Yad Vipadam Natesham. That for those devotees who have taken the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, for them this material world is like the water contained in the calf's hoof print. And and so they can easily cross over it because they have taken the lotus feet of the Lord, who is known as Murari. So from this verse, we can connect to that particular verse which comes in Srimad Bhagavatam 10th canto, that at every place there is a vipadda, there is a problem and anxieties. But विपत्ति को संपत्ति कैसे बनाना है? How we can turn that vipatti into sampatti? Just by remembering the Lord, or just by taking the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, which acts like a boat. Because if we take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, then through that boat of the lotus feet of the Lord, we can cross over this ocean of material world, and we can go back home, back to Godhead. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवत महापुराण की जय, जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद जी की जय, उपस्थित भक्त वृंद की जय, निताय गौर प्रेमानंद हरि बोल.
Hare.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very
Hare
much.
Krishna,
everyone.
Hare Krishna.
Wonderful lecture. Wonderful.
प्रभु आपने एक बोला छह असुर हैं बॉडी में. कैन यू जस्ट टेल दोस इन द लेक्चर? आई थिंक
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhu, for for reminding me. Yes, these 6 asurs are there in our heart. That is Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, Mad, and Matsarya. That lust, envy, greed, and then anger, illusion. Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, Mad, and Matsarya. So these are the 6 asur. Uh, it stays in our heart in the form of anarthas. So the acharyas explain that these 6 asuras are like the 6 sons of Devaki. Unless and until we kill these 6 anarthas, it will be very difficult for us to get the mercy of Krishna or to bring Krishna in our heart. Because after this, if we want to if we want to kill the 6 anarthas in the form of the 6 demons, then we should pray to our spiritual master and Lord Sri Krishna, both. Guru Krishna Prasade Paya Bhakti Lata Bija. And when we kill them, then Lord Lord will send the spiritual master as Balramji, who will clean our heart. He will, because Balramji has the plow. Plow is used to make the soil. So the acharyas explain, when we have the 6 anarthas, we should kill them by the process of devotional service, and the Guru will help us to wipe them out. And at the end, the Guru will make the soil of our heart fertile, so that in which we can sow the Bhakti Lata Bij, and then Krishna and Guru, by their blessings and mercy, we will fructify them. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Anyone else has any question? Doesn't look like, Prabhu.
No, Prabhuji.
Okay. So we'll end today's session here. Well, thank you once again, Prabhu. Thank you so much for coming in at a very late notice and still preparing well and giving a wonderful lecture. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you,
Okay.
Seva,
Thank you,
and
thank you,
Prabhuji.
Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.